Welcome back to B3 Businesses Building Bridges. I'm very excited today because my good friend here, Ed Sarkovich, is in the house.
Woo!
And we're going to talk about the history of Flagler County. Welcome to the show, Ed. We're so glad you're here.
Thank you. It's great to be here.
And we have a lot to talk about. So we're just going to get right into it and talk about the history of Flagler County. Give us a 35,000-foot overview first, and then we'll dig a little deeper.
Here's the big picture. Most people, when they think about the history of Flagler County, they think about the ITT Corporation, which started off in the 1960s and planned what we now know as Palm Coast. But the extended history of Flagler County goes way back. We had Timucuan and Wally Native American populations here going back 15,000 years ago. Before there were Native Americans, we had mastodons, mammoths, armadillos the size of Volkswagen Beetles.
Dinosaurs really did roam the earth here.
With dinosaurs at some point, but we had saber-tooth tigers, we had all kinds of stuff. So we had Native American period, and then Spain came to La Florida in 1565, settled St. Augustine. So we had first period Spanish people in Flagler County. First time, September 9th, 1565. There was a British colonial period. We were actually the 14th colony, was East Florida. Second Spanish period, and then we've had all kinds of wars, Revolutionary War history, Seminole War history, American Civil War history, and then, of course, we had the great land booms of the 1920s, early 1900s.
Who knew?
And that is all predating ITT.
So how did the Flagler Historical Society start here in the county?
So the Flagler County Historical Society started off as a collection of history fans that had multi-generational family histories here. They began meeting just to share family stories. And then in 1983, they actually formed and incorporated the nonprofit County Historical Society. They became the official steward for Flagler County and its history. And over the decades, we're entering into our 43rd year next year. Over the decades, we've supported the other historical societies and museums that cover specific parts of Flagler County, like the Palm Coast Historical Society and Museum, the African American Cultural Society, the Florida Agricultural Museum, Flagler Beach Museum. We all work together to tell the history story, but our job is to talk about the county in its entirety.
And what makes that different from other counties in Florida?
The Historical Society?
Yes.
We all share a common purpose.
Okay.
Periodically, we get together with other historical societies and museums in Northeast Florida, and we are all the descendants of officers and stewards of local history. So we share a common mission and purpose with everybody else, but we just are in love with the stories that have taken place here and the history that's taken place here.
I think it's kind of cool because I have lived here for 30 years. And of course, until we're exposed or are interested in anything that goes on in our county that we live in, recently I just did my own little research on Flagler, Mr. Flagler, and didn't even know like our county, because all you hear about is Rockefeller.
Right.
Not knowing that they were partners in crime.
Right.
And I dove in and I was just mind blown of what he did and how this community basically was named after him. So I don't know if you want to elaborate a little bit on that and educate our listeners.
Absolutely. So Flagler County was incorporated in 1917. The city of Bunnell, which is the county seat, and it's known as the Crossroads of Flagler County, was incorporated in 1913. Bunnell is named after Alva Bunnell, who was a sawmill man that came over here from Palatka in the 1890s. And he set up a sawmill. Town grew up around it. Isaac I. Moody, who was a St. Johns County commissioner in the late 1800s, early 1900s, bought 40,000 acres of land around what is now Bunnell and Western Communities, hired a marketing company out of Chicago to start selling townhouses and then also farmsteads for the American dream of land ownership. And Isaac Moody, kind of a mucky muck, rubbed shoulders, rubbed, you know what I'm saying, from above. Rubbed shoulders and elbows with Henry Flagler when Henry Flagler created his railroad through this part of Florida. Everybody wanted the county named after Moody. It was going to be Moody County originally. But Isaac Moody said, no, let's go ahead and name it after my good friend Henry Flagler.
Wow.
And Henry Flagler said, yes, let's do that.
Wow.
So that's how it became Flagler County.
Very cool.
So through all of this history, we have war and conflict. That let's talk about the wars on American soil, the Civil War. Did that affect this county? And participants of this county obviously fought in the war as well. Is that correct?
So that's absolutely correct. We've had several major ones. I would think that the first one to start off talking about would be the Revolutionary War,
Wow,
because
goes
not
back.
a lot of people realize that we have that kind of history here.
We're
So
closely associated geographically to St. Augustine, so I'd imagine there is deeper history there besides the Revolutionary War. It goes back way before that.
correct. So during the British occupation of this whole area and the colonies, we were the 14th colony, and we were actually in the center of 33 colonies that extended from northeastern United States all the way down to the British West Indies. We were in the central part of it. And of course, the fort had been established for several hundred years by the time the British took over in 1763 here. And St. Augustine, East Florida, continuously remained loyal to King George III during the Revolution. With the signing of the Declaration of Independence in 1776, the new founded American patriots began trying to get British loyalists to sign on with the United States, and a lot of them didn't want to. They wanted to remain loyal to England. So plantations up north were burned. Plantation owners were tarred and feathered. And over the course of
Seriously, tarred and feathered.
tarred and feathered, and over
Yeah.
the course of a year, there were 20,000 British loyalists that fled to St. Augustine that had a population of 4,000. So within a year, it went from 4,000 to 24,000. And all these British loyalists were here in this whole area, waiting out the conclusion of the war so they could go back to their plantations up in the 13 colonies. But that never happened. Speaking to the Civil War activity, we had skirmishes that took place on what's now Flagler County soil. We know that the Union Army had cow pens. They were raiding plantations further south along Kings Road, and were herding up cattle in order to feed their troops. So we had a Union occupation that took place here as the Confederates
So
were
it
trying to drive
wasn't
them away.
Confederate. It was Union that occupied this area
So it was
mostly.
both. Yeah, it was both. So traditionally, this was a Confederate state, and the Union Army wanted to capture St. Augustine because of the fort, and also the assets that were in St. Augustine, and they knew that the British plantations were south of here, and that's where they were getting their food to supply their activity.
So interesting.
Ed, can I ask you how you winded up in Palm Coast and how you fell into this?
The whole history thing.
Yes.
Yeah. So I was born in New York City, grew up on a dairy goat farm on eastern Long Island, moved to Florida in 1992, and moved to St. Augustine in 1995. 2003, I started coming down to Flagler County for work, and really liked Flagler County a lot. Moved here in 2007. 2000. So fast forward then to 2017, and I was eating lunch at a little restaurant in Flagler Beach that was called Kokomo's. And at the table next to me was a fellow that was talking about Flagler County history. Turns out that his name was Bill Ryan, and he had written 7 books about Flagler County history. And over the course of a couple of times of seeing him and hearing him, I made, and Bill knows this, I made the grave mistake of asking him a question. And his question sucked me right in. And I got hooked. One of the things that he talked about that piqued the question was a Revolutionary War era sawmill. That was all wooden gear driven. It was built.
I think I saw
built by
that
the
on
British in 1770, and that's what I asked a question about. And I went out and looked at the site that was in disrepair, put together a plan to restore it, and that's it. He
The rest is history.
he set the hook, and so the end of 2018, I joined the Historical Society, became their president, and then have been a part of a tremendous team of people that just loves to take all of our stuff, our artifacts, our stories, our genealogies, our properties, our museums, and our team takes all of that and turns it into learning and educational experiences for children and their families to teach them life lessons, survival skills, how the people that came before us here made it. And we try and put those lenses on their eyes so that knowing the history, they can look at their present and their future in order to live their lives better.
And
So
on that,
that's our
can
big
you
goal.
elaborate on the scholarship program?
So every year, the County Historical Society puts together a $2,000 scholarship that we source out into the community. And what we're looking for are candidates that have a history mindset, history education mindset, and are somehow going to utilize history into their future plans.
It's important.
So over the years, we've had students that have come to us that are going into political science. Well, with political science is a very large history component. This year and in coming years, we're going to be expanding consideration of candidates to include those that are maybe involved with FFA, Future Farmers of America, or are going to be contributing and taking over their multi-generational family farmsteads that are out in Western Flagler County, because there's a history component to
Absolutely.
Agriculture.
Absolutely. That's
So
awesome.
we're excited every year about writing that check to somebody that's going to help make their educational experience a little bit easier.
Wow.
Fabulous.
So we're talking about stories of multi-generational activities going on here in Flagler County. How have those early industries shaped the culture that we know today? And are some of those farms that are out in the western part of the county still operational?
Excellent question. So geographically, Western Flagler County especially, and then also here, is a sediment plain. So the Haw Creeks, which are finger creeks that come off of Crescent Lake is attached to the St. Johns River, and the St. Johns River is attached to the Atlantic Ocean. So any kind of high tides, rain, storm surge from big storms, it all goes down the river, into the lake, through the woods, and
Over the river.
into the Haw Creeks, and it spills over, just like the Mississippi Delta area spills over. So you get all that sediment that comes into this entire area, and that makes the land here very fertile. So this is something that Native Americans knew. We know that off of areas, say by Old Kings Road South, by the Winn-Dixie Shopping Center, to the east of that and south of there was a Native American city. It wasn't just a small little village or town. Archaeological evidence shows that there were probably thousands of Native Americans that have been there for thousands of years. The same thing out by St. John's Park, Haw Creek, Shell Bluff, the areas in western Flagler County, tremendous farming areas dating back to the Native Americans. The Spanish, when they first started coming down here looking for farmland to support their military fort, they saw how fertile the soil was, and they saw what the Native Americans were growing. So that tradition was built upon by the British that came in, and they built Kings Road that connected Savannah all the way down to the Turnbull colony in New Smyrna Beach. And then as Kings Road was built, there were 33 plantations that were constructed, all unfortunately using enslaved labor, because that was the practice of the day. But dating back to the Spanish and British periods, we had sugarcane, we had cotton, we had indigo, we had potatoes, we had cabbage. Lumber was a huge business in this entire area, not only for house building in St. Augustine, but also for shipbuilding. And a lot of milled lumber that came out of Flagler County was shipped back to England because they cut down all their trees, generations before. So that was the tradition
Man is in the forest.
of colonial periods. And then, as I mentioned earlier, when Isaac Moody purchased the 40,000 acres, and that was all turned into farmsteads, they knew what was going to grow here. So that tradition continues. A lot of the big names that you find out in Western Flagler County today came here late 1800s, early 1900s, and those farms have just been passed on from generation to generation. Potatoes are huge here. I believe the majority of the potatoes, if not all, somewhere between the majority and all of Flagler County potatoes that are grown here are purchased by the Lay's Potato Chip Corporation.
Wow.
Yeah.
Something that I knew that because we had talked about that in the past, but it's fascinating. If you just move into the county, you think, well, it's a quiet little community, but our ancestors or the people who preceded us here in this county had way more invested into the community in terms of farming and things like that. So
Cattle.
Dig a little deeper into the county, and you're going to find a treasure trove of things to appreciate.
When you head west, say if you take State Route 100 west out of Bunnell, it's a very short drive to get right into the middle of all of it.
And I've taken that route to garden centers out there, and I see the massive amount of acreage it's devoted to farming.
Right.
Is that going to disappear as we do our little urban sprawl into the western part of the county?
Those are kind of the movements that seem to be happening right now as City of Palm Coast and other areas expand. Some of the multi-generational farms are beginning to make movements in the direction of selling to developers and whatnot. And it's happening everywhere. It's not just
you
it's not
can't
just Flagler
stop
County.
growth.
Right. Yep.
So
we just hope that the growth is responsible.
Or in somebody else's area.
And incorporates, responsible moves, with urban sprawl.
What are you doing? What are we doing collectively to protect that growth and to keep our history intact?
So on our team at the Historical Society, we have folks that are looking at areas that are slated for development. We're making pushes and movements to attend both city commission meetings, county commission meetings, reminding everybody of the history that we have here. We know that without a doubt areas are going to be developed, and the Historical Society is trying to stress the importance of taking a look at lands and properties that are going to be built on and investigating them in phases, so that if a property is set to be cleared, you have a team of people that go through, they do a walkthrough looking for surface finds, dating from Native American periods forward. We're still looking for those lost industries like moonshine. Moonshine.
I hope you find those.
Those things are lying around. And then once the property gets cleared and the soil gets turned over to go through with the teams of educated metal detectorists that look for artifacts, and the whole goal is to withdraw artifacts that are teaching tools. So that after an area gets developed and established, you can then photograph that history and put it onto informational kiosks, and that can be incorporated into what already exists in Palm Coast and Flagler County, which are miles and miles of walking trails, nature trails, benches to rest, and add provenance to the community that's going to grow no matter what.
So has that happened yet with the collaboration of the county and the historical to do all that investigating before they just gut?
So we work with private property owners that absolutely are for us going out there. As far as the municipal and the county levels, we've opened up dialogues, stressing the importance of making this happen, and we're hopeful that as we move forward with that'll become a recognized priority for incorporating into future development.
I think that is key.
Yeah.
Really, to the next growth stage or spurt that we will go through is to preserve as much as we can.
So our preservation specialist that works with us has been having meetings with City of Palm Coast about incorporating some of these things into their future plans and development as they expand west.
And some of the areas that are preserved, is that really preserved? Are they not allowed to ever build, or what are the rules?
A lot of it depends on how things have been set up.
Is it zoning?
Some of it's zoning. A lot of city-owned areas and county-owned areas also fall underneath state protection, either for sensitive lands or historic sites, marshlands, and things like that. So there's a layer of protection there. A lot of properties that are in the area are owned by people like St. John's River Water Management or Rainier Timber, and these are good preservation groups. But there are lands that they own that get sold, and some of them do go to development. So we're always trying to keep our fingers on the pulse of what's happening, so that we can speak the importance of preservation, and if not preservation, then extraction of information that can be used as teaching tools.
Or at least a portion of the property to be able to be preserved if they still need to build or rezoned or whatever it is. But if there's still a portion at least
Right.
that could remain as is,
Yeah.
that would be goal as well, I think.
Correct.
Yeah, definitely. And I know that there's a couple things here. I know that you have a metal detecting little wand. I have one.
Right.
And we've been out doing stuff. You've been searching sites for that. Those artifacts, they go to museums. And where are those museums? And what is the status of museums being developed in the county?
So if you're a person that loves to go out and looking for things, you really need to be aware of what the regulations are as
Right.
far as the state statutes go, and then also local, municipal, and county regulations before you go out and get yourself into trouble and have your equipment confiscated.
Yeah, we don't want that.
You need to know what the rules are before you go out. So I'm going to speak to contacting people that have private property,
Right.
where you've got their permission, and then you can go searching from there. So we have a group of people that work with us that do that, and there's always a first right of refusal to the property owner to take those artifacts and put them in their living room, put them on their fireplace mantle.
Interesting.
Because it's a part of
their property.
It's a part of their history.
Yeah.
For those that really want to consider finds and donate them to the Historical Society, we have display cases and a process of acknowledging their receipt and where it was found, and it adds to the story of what happened in that particular part of the county or city or whatever it is. Again, this is for private property owners. For areas, for us, the county Historical Society, if there's something cool that gets discovered, and we really feel like it would benefit the collection of the City of Palm Coast Historical Society, then that's where it should go. Same for Flagler Beach. If somebody uncovers something on the beach, then it's a part of Flagler Beach
Treasure.
history. It should go there. Our I don't know if either of you have been in our museums on State Route 100 in Bunnell, but we over the last 8 years have kind of become the Sanford and Son of stuff. We've our walls are full. Our display cases
That's great,
are
though.
overflowing. Our file cabinets are packed, and we still do bring some stuff in, but we would love it to be a more specific story fit for some of the other great museums that we have.
Maybe it needs to be sifted and sorted.
Yes, they
Or a
do,
little
and
plug.
you're the person for that.
So I can tell you that, and I mentioned them earlier, the Flagler Beach Historical Museum is an awesome place to go
I've been
to.
there.
They have wonderful things. City of Palm Coast Historical Society in Holland Park, same thing. Great group of people, great leadership and board up there. They have an amazing assortment of things in the space that they have. Hopefully, they're going to be moving into Station 22 of one of the original fire stations in the city. The African American Cultural Society has a tremendous research room, library, artifact space, both for things that are local, and also they're part of their membership goes over to the African continent to research their roots over there, and then they bring artifacts back with them, and their whole room is just full of stuff. The Ag Museum has a whole bunch of things up there, and the thing is that every week that goes by, we're uncovering new aspects of history.
That's amazing, though. I think
really
it's
is.
very
There's still stuff to be
cool.
learned. Some of our people 2 years ago went up to the National Archives in Washington, D.C. and came back with boxes of stuff that we're still going through. And so to speak to what's the future, Bunnell is and has been, was a hotbed of the women's voting rights movement. So prior to 1920, women were not allowed to vote in the United States, but there were nationally known speakers that changed that through persuasive speaking and
Persuasive.
and whatnot. So we had a local hero. Her name was Alice Scott Abbott, who originally came from Missouri, but she was a nationally known speaker for the women's voting rights movement and the Christian temperance union. And she in Flagler County personally got 250 women registered
Wow.
to vote in the 1920 election. So with that, the American Association of University Women has done a tremendous amount of research on her, including somebody named Kim Medley, who wrote a book about her and women's voting rights in
We'll have
Flagler
to get
County.
them on as well.
So we are going to take that research and create the Florida Women's Voting Rights Museum to talk about the plight of women for equality in voting and also equal pay scale, and then use that whole museum of research to, in a nonpartisan format, meaning we're not trying to persuade anybody to be on any side of the political fence, to take all that stuff and educate kids about how to properly vet a candidate. You don't want to, how good looking they are, how well they
No,
speak. You look at
that's
their
for
voting
sure.
record in order to figure out, is this somebody that represents my family values? So,
Right.
so we're hopeful to get that established here. If not by the end of December, then by January. And that'll be another museum in Bunnell.
Just, I want to know how your bridge was created here, because this is the first time I'm meeting Ed.
Yes.
And I know that Diane, you know him well.
Yes.
So if you could just elaborate on some of his other adventures and how you two met.
I'll let him take care of that.
All right. So over the course of my life, I've been involved in a lot of different things. Started off as a commercial fisherman, became chiropractor for a lot of years, photographer. I was a photographer for the Chamber of Commerce here locally. And then, like I said, for the last 7 years, involved in history. Over the course of that time, became friends with her brother and sister-in-law, and we got introduced that way.
Yep.
And now I consider her and her husband Dan part of the pack.
Yeah.
You know, and I say part of the pack because whenever we get together, it's her brother's 2 labs and then her 2 poodles.
Yeah,
And,
When we get together, it's we're meeting at the little dog house or the big
the
dog
big
house.
house.
So I mean, all of this is so much fun, and we're almost out of time. I just can't believe we blew through this one so quick. I know that there's if folks are coming in for the holidays and they want to take a tour, I know that you have a means to do that. Tell us as we wrap this up how to get in contact with you, the tour, and all of that in case they want to entertain family for a couple hours while we're here.
So our 2 museums are located across from the historic 1926 courthouse, which is on State Route 100 in Bunnell. We are open by appointment 6 days a week, and then we're open Wednesdays from 10 to 1 for walk-in traffic.
Okay.
So if somebody's interested in coming in and taking a look at our 1918 2-story house that's staged to Bunnell or the research library behind it, you can go to our website, FlaglerCountyHistoricalSociety.com. You can send us an email at FlaglerCountyHistoricalSociety@gmail.com. You can go to Facebook and look up Flagler County Historical Society.
There's no
Send us a
excuses to reach
message.
you, right?
Right.
Or you can give us a call at 386-437-0600 and leave a message, and we will get back with you and set up a time for you to come on in.
What a flyover of Flagler County. We got to go deeper on this and maybe bring another guest in. Thank you so much for joining
Thank you
us
for having me.
today.
I really appreciate it.
Oh, we loved it.
My mind is blown.
Yes.
Thank you.
All right, B3, we're wrapping this one up and putting that into under a cozy blanket for now, and we'll have Ed back again another time. But that's it for today. Thanks so much.